And welcome to another edition of the Tyson Talk podcast. I am your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and Peebush. How are you fellas doing?
I'm doing well, man. Another Bears season down the drain. It's all right. We're on to the April draft, man. I know we keep talking about it here on this one, man, but heading right into the playoffs. We got some. That was a hell of a last week 18, man. That Texans Colts game was pretty good there towards the end. Obviously, Steelers just finding a way, man, sneaking in
As
against
always.
the sitting Baltimore Ravens since they had already locked up the one seed in the AFC. And I do think that it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. We got some veterans going up against rookies. We got probably one of the oldest and youngest playoff duos of all time since
Yeah.
without Brady and Joe Flacco versus CJ Stroud, man. That is the veteran versus the rookie, like through and through. So a lot of good
Mhm.
matchups this weekend, and we're going to dive into them shortly. So
Yeah, week 18 football. It's one of those weeks where there's a lot of bad football, a lot of teams not trying no more. Some teams try to play spoiler like the Chicago Bears, but they fail miserably, like always, against the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, can't win in
But-
Lambeau.
And then you got teams lucky. The Ravens got the number one seed secure, so the Ravens get a freaking bye week because you're not even playing against Lamar Jackson. So a lot of luck, but obviously the Texans and Colts is actually a competitive game. Shout out to CJ Stroud as a rookie quarterback to make it with all those injuries too. With all those injuries, like team's not that good with all those injuries. That guy makes it. So shout out to CJ Stroud, man. And then you got the greatest game ever. I'm telling you, this blowout. I'm telling you. The Saints versus Falcons blowout, man. Arthur Smith, he's finally gone. My prayers have been answered I'm not even a Falcons fan. I'm just a fan of football and fantasy football and Kyle Pitts and Drake London and Bijan Robinson, man. They have been freed. This guy's been fired his last minute as head coach. You see him just storming out the field, getting mad at Jameis, getting a little Jamal Williams an extra tutty. Man, who cares? You got more problems to worry about, like your job.
That's why he was mad.
Man. Oh, bye-bye, Arthur Smith. Bye. That was a beautiful moment, man. Shout out to Baker Mayfield too. That guy making it in, but
somehow.
Talk about an ugly game. God,
Panthers 0,
disgusting.
Woo. Yeah,
God, that division every year is just
awful,
disgusting.
It's been bad for the last couple of years.
Going back to Atlanta, I am super, super interested to see who gets that job, who they're even targeting. I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be a guy that's on the offensive side of things. I think Arthur Smith was he offensive or defensive coach? I don't even know off the top of my head if he was or not. I think they're going to still double down and do that, and I think it's going to be a candidate that's going to be salivating because, like you say, he'll be able to have Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Drake London, just that trio, and then you got the draft coming up. Yeah, and Atlanta also, they have a nice corner and some good defensive linemen. Like they got a lot of pieces. To me, I just think they need a coach. So, I think Arthur Smith, his anger was a little misguided. He kind of knew because I saw it was funny too. Like when on Twitter, and it's just funny how algorithms work. Like it was showing the clip of him going crazy and was like pissed off at Dennis Allen, and then right below that, it was like Arthur Blank and the GM or following Arthur Smith into the locker room. It was like, oh, well, you know what that means. It's like, you're out of here. Pretty much, you're going to say your speech to the team about how you can come back next year, and then we're going to bring you off to the side and fire you. So shout out to the Falcons for doing the right thing. And, 2 week 18, I still think it's a money grab from the NFL. But, some things get decided in the final week of the NFL season. So now that it's the playoffs, I was just going through some of the matchups. And like I was saying, I feel like this year is just one of the years where, people are going to have their favorites. We know who the number one seeds are because they have the buys, but I feel like it's anybody's game in this playoffs. And, from CJ Stroud to Joe Flacco, we just have a lot of cool storylines. But I was looking at some of the matchups and I was like, I wonder who more than likely could pull off an upset. And this is just based off seeding. So, I mean, some could argue all these teams are kind of somewhat even, but seeding does matter. So between the Green Bay Packers, the Los Angeles Rams, and the Miami Dolphins, who do you think can pull an upset? And people, Sean, start with you.
Man, I'm going to start on the NFC side, man. I got a couple games here that I think there could be some upsets, but you posed 3, man, so I'm going to pick one from one of those 3. I think the Rams got a shot against the Lions. I think this is a shootout game in the making. We got probably one of the coolest quarterback matchups playing against their old teams, respectively, the guys that were traded for each other. I don't know if that's a first in the NFL. Maybe it's happened at some point. But this is pretty cool to see. Obviously, it's in Detroit. We got no weather issues. That's huge for Jared Goff, honestly, even if he had to go to L.A. It was his original home, man. So he was chill either way with this matchup on the weather front. But man, Puka Nacua, a 5th-round draft pick, putting up all-time rookie numbers, man, breaking not only the receptions but the yardage totals by 2
Crazy.
separate individuals. I think he broke Jalen Waddle's reception mark, and I forget who he passed on yardage for.
Jamar Chase.
I forget who it was, but either way, he now owns it. He has his name under both of those categories. And here's the thing: the Lions are really good at getting pressure on the quarterback, and it's not like Stafford is a young gun anymore. He can't, he's not as mobile, even though he can move. But the thing is they got Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, 2 of the guys in the league that get open the easiest and fastest. And I think that's the biggest thing because they can't rely on Kyron Williams entirely. Aiden Hutchinson, all the guys up front are relatively good at stopping the run. But they need to get him going early, but they can't rely on him all game. I think they have to get this passing game going, take some shots down the field, attack the Lions secondary. And I think that Matthew Stafford, he never got a chance to bring a playoff game home in Detroit. Well, he's going to win one in Detroit, man. That's going to be their first playoff victory that they'll see, and it'll be done by their former number 1 overall pick quarterback, man. So I'm taking Stafford. I do think it's going to be a great game. I could see this being kind of a field goal game. And like I said, indoors kicking in the playoffs is huge, and it only makes their jobs easier when they don't have to deal with inclement weather.
Yeah, I have to absolutely agree, man. Because out of those options, let's first talk about these Dolphins, man. These little Dolphins, cute little Dolphins, man. Man, you got Tua and these Floridian boys going to cold Kansas City. That weather, man, it is brutal. Brutal. And being able to catch a football and throwing a football in that weather, you got a man from Hawaii, man. He ain't used to this. He was in Bama. Like, he is actually not built for this size-wise and the weather-wise. Like, he has all these things going against him. Like, hopefully Raheem the Dream comes back from injury because they need their goal line back, even though Devon Achane is an absolute stud, man. He balled out when he gets opportunities. But the team just got to be healthy right now. Like, Waddle's situation, that is a huge situation. Not too sure about his like playoff likelihood right now. Like, we'll see what happens, but we'll see. Even if he plays, he's not completely 100% because he missed last week's game. So, and then that was for their playoff lives, man. So, like, you're against a team right now against the Kansas City Chiefs. That defense, like the offense, it's kind of bad. Like, I'm a little nervous as a guy who had a futures pick on Kansas City winning a Super Bowl. I have very low faith right now. Yeah, I'm sweating because that offense is awful. Travis Kelce ain't Travis Kelce right now either.
Rashee Rice and Pacheco.
Yeah, Rashee Rice is this guy's pretty good. Like, as a rookie, he had an awesome year, and if he have another 2-3 years of developing, he might be an alpha receiver right now. So Rashee Rice is the only positive on his offensive side of things. Pacheco, like, he's kind of back. Like, he had his injury issues all year, but he's been holding it down as a good running back this year. But that game's a 4-point spread right now. 4-point spread at home. I love that. I love Kansas City at home. So I definitely can't pick the Dolphins, man. So you can look at that option. And those Packers, man, I am shocked they made it this far to the playoffs, man. I am impressed. Jordan Love, dude. Like, he ended real strong. Jordan Love ended the season looking awesome. Like, that middle of the season looking kind of awful. Looking kind of awful. But, like, obviously they slipped in because the NFC, like they won 9 games. Like, they're 1 game above 500. So, like, they're
the Lions of last year.
Exactly. They're one loss away from mediocrity. 8-9 is mediocrity, below 500. So they just barely sneak in against the Dallas Cowboys team that's just dominated against. I would say they're average, but man, this is a team that's outclassed. Outclassed by, I said, every aspect of the game. Their quarterback play, the offensive play, and you look at the Packers defense it's been pretty awful. They're below 25th in all rankings on defensive rankings against the pass, against the rush. So Dak Prescott against a bad defense against the team, I don't even think is that good. Like, shout out to them for making the playoffs, but they barely made it in. This is a perfect game for the Dallas Cowboys to have another blowout. And that's one thing they're great at, front running against teams that they are objectively superior to. So I feel like for those 2 games, man, it's for sure in my books. Chiefs and Cowboys taking care of business, man. So I gotta roll with those Rams, man.
You're rolling with the Rams too.
I'm rolling with the Rams and the Lions.
No Laporta as well.
Like losing
Big
Laporta, that is some bad
tough one.
juju, right? The guy got 10 touchdowns as a rookie, and you're losing that guy as an elite weapon. Jesus, that is just bad time. That is bad timing. Like they won their division for once, and then they lose their rookie tight end was a hell of a draft pick. So that's some bad karma coming in right now. So for you to win the playoffs, you need everything to align, and losing your tight end and Sam Laporta with 10 touchdowns, that is a brutal loss. So on top of bad news, I got more bad news for them, for the Lions, man. They're going home. They're going home. Cute season, man. Great season. Cute story, man. But
they'll be good. I think they'll continue to get better as a team, but
man, losing your
I'll take Stafford. They got that experience, man.
Stafford's definitely out for blood.
And coaching, I'd take Sean McVay over
Dan Campbell,
Yeah, Campbell. Mr. Fourth Down himself.
Shout out to Dan Campbell for changing, because I read a story more so about Dan Campbell. He was on that 0-8 team, or the team that went winless with Detroit.
Yep.
So I think that kind of fueled him with like coming back to Detroit and trying to get them to the playoffs. But yeah, when Laporta going down, the only thing I could say they would probably have to do is if somehow they can rely on a running game, and then Amon-Ra could just have an Amon-Ra game to go off. Like I say, I don't think it's a slam dunk that the Rams win. I do think, to People's point, I think it's going to be a field goal game. But that just seems like the most popular one. So I kind of figured like everybody, like I didn't think you guys were going to pick that, but I kind of had an idea that maybe that you guys picked that. And that's just off of looking at what I've been watching on TV. Everyone's picking that game as like the upset, because it's just like Stafford's been there. He's going to be out for blood. And I just don't like how it's being painted as Stafford's going back to like show the Lions what they're missing. It's like, no, I think Stafford wanted out of Detroit for good reason. He got out of Detroit. He got to LA, won them a championship. Like I don't, at least from what I was watching the storyline, Stafford was kind of done with Detroit, which is not now that Detroit didn't want Stafford. I think Stafford, for good reason, they separated. Jared Goff came back, revised his career. So I think that's good. But, this is, like I say, the part of what's coming in my blood is how I've been betting the entire year with how I've done money lines. And it's just like, let me see what I get the biggest odds of. And when I'm looking at all these, like when I was looking at the Rams, we were just talking about like, that's the one that everyone's going with.
Taking the Packers.
Like you said, the Dolphins. Let me tell you something. I said this last week. They needed to play all out, because if they had to go on the road in the playoffs, they're going home. And what do you know? They're going to Kansas City. It's over. Like, I don't think there's any scenario, unless Travis Kelce just has a 3-drop, 2-reception, 14-yard game
this year.
Patrick Mahomes they're getting cute and they're doing weird type of formations. Like, if they start doing stuff that is not conducive to winning, which you can say that about a lot of teams, but Kansas City likes to do stuff, especially with their personnel right now, that's like, let's do an end around, let's do a backward pass and a behind the back. Like they like doing that type of stuff, because that's how Andy Reid is as a play caller. If they get in that game, it could be a closer game than what we think it could be. But I still just don't believe the Miami Dolphins as a franchise on the road in 0-degree weather. I just don't believe it, because it's too cold. Devon A-Chain, if he is the lead back and Raheem can't come back, love you, Devon, but I don't like the guy who's 5'8", 185 pounds in 0-degree weather. Like, because you're probably going to be in a lot of 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s, and he's not getting those yards unless they get creative with their play calling. And shout out to Tua. I think he's bounced back from last year and the injury concerns, but on the road in Kansas City, I'm good. Like, and like you say, it's the champs. It's something with that. It's the champs. The defense is better. I don't want to bet against that. I don't want to do that. Like, until Mahomes gets knocked out, no. So then I'm like, okay, this process of elimination. I watched the Packers and the Bears, and 2 things stood out. Jordan Love, of course, because he's the quarterback. He's, progressively gotten better over the years, or not years, but over the, I guess you could say, latter half of the season. I remember maybe like 5-6 weeks ago, we were like, the Packers are like the 8-9, like they got a lot of things that needs to happen for them to get into the playoffs. They get into the playoffs. Jordan Love in that last game, I know the Bears, his last game of the season, who cares? But he threw for over 300 yards, two touchdowns, and was pretty accurate. But the biggest thing was Aaron Jones going for 100 yards.
Yeah, he's back. He's healthy.
against the number
kind
one
of
rush
made me
defense.
feel like, yeah, that kind of made me be like, wait a minute, because Aaron Jones this entire year, and fantasy people, who drafted him probably like could attest, he hasn't been the greatest. So you're kind of like, like Aaron Jones going for 100 yards. We know Christian Watson is not playing, but I mean, whatever. Like he's been hurt the entire year. He hasn't really been there the entire year.
Yeah, and they got a new
But
toy.
Jaden Reed, over 100 yards.
That dude's insane, man.
He's a rookie, but he is showing.
He has 10 touchdowns this year. 10 touchdowns as a rookie. That's
going to be a nice fantasy guy next
year
too.
That's absurd.
Waiver wire
fantasy guy. Yeah. So I'm looking at those two things. We're actually saying three things, but the two main things for me is Jordan Love and Aaron Jones. And I'm thinking to myself, like, going into this game against the Cowboys, they have absolutely no pressure, none. And I think that's going to be to their benefit. They're going to go in there and play as free as can be, because Dallas, I think more than any year, this year is the year where they're going to have extreme pressure, because like I said in the opening, I don't think this is a year where you're like, oh, those two or three teams, they're going to the Super Bowl. It's any person's game this year. So Dallas fans, media, contingency, whatever, they're all looking like, all right, let's figure this out. There is no, hey, let's get to. I don't even think if the Cowboys get to the NFC Championship game, that's a success. No, they have to get to the Super Bowl this year because it's too wide open. So there's really no excuse. And, leading to our next question, that's going to be kind of a topic of debate. But looking at how the Packers could win this game, if Aaron Jones is able to run the ball, which is going to be a tall task against the Dallas Cowboys, I do understand that. But I do think their offensive line with the Packers I think it's good. I don't think it's great. And I think, Jordan Love numbers with his being like, he had over 30 touchdowns, 11 INTs. He was able to be protected.
Better season than Aaron Rodgers last year.
Yeah, he did.
He had a better
season. I brought up that. I wish I had that stat or whatever that I brought up a couple years, like through their first couple of starts. It was very similar to how Aaron Rodgers played in his first career start. His start, season with the Packers. So I think the Packers could go in there and make it interesting. And I'm here to tell you, if Aaron Jones can get up and down the field, I like the Packers, because we know what Dallas does when the games get close. And this script, and this is what's crazy about Dallas, and you guys know this happens every year. They have an explosive offense. They have CDs going. Now, CD is playing at a crazy level. But Peebush knows. My favorite corner I like in the league is Jair Alexander. I think he's going to take it personal. He took DJ Moore
out of the game last week.
Listen, that's just Jair Alexander lives for these matchups. So now you're telling me because by no means do I think he's going to hold CD to like 2 or 3 catches. CD's going to get his catches. But I'm just talking about CD going for a 10 to 11 catch game, 100-something yards. I don't know if that happens against Jair. So now you're looking at the tight end option that they have. I don't remember the guy's name. And their number 2 and 3 receiver. Like, it could get weird. And the thing with the Packers is, defensively, they haven't been great all year, but they have names like Quay Walker, Jair Alexander. I like their ends, Enigbari. They got a couple other ends that I'm leaving my brain right now. I can't remember all of them, but they got guys that can get after the passer. And Dallas is, for me, I got to see it to believe it. It's just, it was the same thing. I had the same mentality with Denver. So I kept hearing about how good Jokic was, and obviously he was dominant. But it's like, get to the finals and go win it. I need to see it with Dallas. I'm not just gonna give them, this is Dallas's year. Like, no, go show me that you're a for real team. Beat this wild card team. Get to the divisional. Win that game. I need you to take the steps to get there, because I can't just give it to you, because it's been God knows how long the 90s since they got to the NFC Championship game. To me, if you haven't been to the NFC Championship game since the 90s, I cannot just give you, you're going to beat the Packers. You got it. No, go prove it. You got to go prove it. And to me, it gets scary because Jordan Love is playing great. Aaron Jones is running the ball. And plus they're going to play with no pressure. Like, nobody's looking at the Packers like, oh, yeah, the Packers should win this game. Like, no. Everybody's like, Dallas handled this game. So pressure in Dallas doesn't always work out. And if I'm talking about all the teams, like in that little group, like those little like group of teams that we were just talking about in terms of who could pull off an upset, Dallas has the most pressure. And you could also argue, maybe not this year, but in previous years, they just never have stepped up. Like, And I didn't. I mean, they handled the Commanders, but I like in the games that in the last couple of games that they played. And this is the last point. Like they haven't played the greatest. The Eagles. Who's their last best win? The Eagles. And look how the Eagles have looked.
They beat Detroit.
I know. They beat Detroit.
Still won.
All I gotta say,
they won.
They dominated the game. It was just the last.
CD dominated the game.
Okay, he dominated. He carried. It was just some buffoonery by the head coach with chucking a ball with 3 minutes left.
That's another point. Which coach do you believe in more? That's another point. Which coach do you believe in more?
McCarthy kind of sucks.
That's another one too.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like on paper, the players are better. But McCarthy is a big red flag, like especially in the fourth quarter in the play calling. Sometimes very questionable, very basic football. And I start questioning the head coach. But you think they're going to lose in the first round?
You know what he is?
Wild card? There's no way. There's no way. I love the Packers, but there's no way.
I love them that much.
I feel like it'll be a miracle if they win.
Hear me out. Mike McCarthy, the Doc Rivers of the NFL, man. He was on Aaron Rodgers' back.
Oh, you might be on to something, man.
That one championship got him all the praise, man.
And it just makes him this.
And
think about it too. To
He's had a job for
that
13
point,
years since.
Oh my!
And he's like, I mean, Mike McCarthy. I guess you could say he's only. I don't know where else he's been, but he got Green Bay, which is a coveted job. Then he gets Dallas, which is probably the most coveted job. Same thing with Doc. Jobs. He goes from Boston, he goes to LA, he goes to Philly. Like he gets a lot of really good jobs. And it's just like, oh, well, Doc got another good job, and he's gonna give him the same result. Yeah,
His next one, the LA Chargers, man. Watch out, man. Someday, man. That's the last thing he's gonna go is LA.
I think the Chargers should go off one of them hardball.
He'll stay with Dallas as long as they'll keep him, though. Let's be honest.
Dallas. If they did lose in the first round, though, like McCarthy's canned. He's out.
Yeah, that might be a fireball.
And that job becomes God. Imagine hardball with the Cowboys. Jesus, you want to talk about like two iconic brands of the hardballs and then freaking the Cowboys. Like that is. I don't know if that would happen because Jerry would probably kill Harbaugh just in terms of because I think Harbaugh like would not listen to like the demands of what Jerry asked of his head coaches, which is to kind of like be seen and not heard. Like I don't think Jim is going on with that, but just going through, like I said, we went through those upsets, whatever. Like to me in the NFC, I'll start with teams that are how I see the wild card round going. Starting with Philly and Tampa Bay, like Philly talk about throwing up on themselves in that last weekend, like disgusting. It was probably one of the. That might be the worst performance I've seen out of that team in probably like 2 to 3 years. Like, and I know everybody like say it's week 18 or just like, oh well, everybody's whatever. But I mean, yeah, exactly. They had something to play for. Thank you. They had something to play for. So you can't go with that excuse. Jalen Hurts, middle finger, freaking was pointing sideways. I thought AJ Brown tore his ACL, but now they're saying it was just like he injured it, but it's not like a long-term injury. I don't know. They're always so vague with those reports. One of their DBs tore their ACL. That game is very weird because they played early in the year. And like Philly dominated, but then Tampa Bay came back. But I just don't have the heart to pick Baker Mayfield. I just don't believe. Like if Baker Mayfield would have destroyed Carolina, I would have been all I'm like, yep, Baker Mayfield.
He's also injured too.
He's injured.
He's very injured.
Like Baker.
Yeah, he was limping the whole game.
He came into the game.
Like, who's their backup? I mean, I don't probably
not playing
Kyle Trask or something. Yeah, it's probably Kyle Trask or something.
I will say
it is Kyle Trask. It is Kyle Trask.
Hear me out,
they didn't trust Kyle Trask against the Carolina Panthers. They got problems, man. That's all I gotta say.
This is the one game I did want to and I know we're not doing like a full-on betting segment today, but this is the game that I would take Bucks money line. And it's not they're at home. They're in better weather. It's not like they have to go to Philly. Jalen Hurts, middle finger, man. That we saw that with Herbert.
Throwing hand too.
Herbert.
Yeah, I don't like those injuries.
Affecting AJ Brown and Devontae Smith banged up.
I forgot Devontae got hurt.
Devontae Smith still hurt. Dallas Goedert is the only guy that's healthy right now. DeAndre Swift has not been himself. Kenneth Gainwell has been getting a lot of carries as of late. Yeah, that O-line, they got the tush push and all that, man. But I don't know if they want to put Hurts in that type of pile-up situation if he's fully injured. And then you look at their defense, man. They can stop the ball on the running game. But that ain't what the Bucks are about, man.
Big Mike, man.
Big Mike Evans with Godwin up the middle and Rachaad White on the out route, man. I'm telling you, this is a trap game for the Eagles, and they've had a couple trap games that they've lost as of late. It's plus. I think I saw plus 144 for the Bucks at home. I like those odds. I'd put a little bit of money on that if you got it. I just think that this is the biggest. The Rams Lions is the storyline game that should be in. It could very well be an upset. I think this Bucks game though is going to be the one that surprises people. But it really, to your point,
what is that line?
It does come. Where is Baker at with his health? Because that is a big this week. But I think, man, I could just see Mike Evans torching him for like 150 and 2 touchdowns, man. I mean, Darius Slayton was doing them dirty. Come on, what's Mike Evans gonna do?
Yeah, like you like
plus Eagles, 3.
Yeah,
plus
it's
3.
It's only 3-point spread in the Eagles' favor. But if you look at their last 6 games, man, they're 1-6 in their last 6 games. Their only win was against the New York Giants. Like they got annihilated by the Niners, Cowboys, barely lost to the Seahawks, and lost to the Cardinals. So they are going with zero momentum. You got the head coach talking about issues. You got A.J. Brown talking about issues. You got Jalen Hurts talking about issues. Like, it's just a lot of bad juju. And if you think about it, this team had 1 loss after like 11 weeks. And they who could have predicted this ending? Like they just in the beginning, they weren't playing that well. Like I saw they weren't playing that well. They just found ways to win. Now it's just caught up to them, and now just like an internal combustion right now. They fired some coaches too in the middle of the year, so they just have all this anarchy right now. And then you're playing against a team that's like Baker Mayfield feeling good about himself, having a career. He's having a career year.
Yeah,
Mike Evans last year didn't have his best year. He's having a bounce back year, having one of the best years of his career. And Tampa Bay is just a bunch of happy people. They just made it to the playoffs, winning the division, taking care of business.
Warm weather.
Right now, they're playing house money at home against a team that represented the NFC last year, who's completely battered up with injuries. I'm just like, yeah, that's crazy to say, man. The Eagles, I can't believe how far they've fallen.
I'm not guaranteeing it.
Yeah,
but I do think it's a good bet for a long shot.
I'm just like, man, that offense should not have issues moving up the field. They shouldn't have issues. Team is loaded on offense. It's absolutely.
I'm inclined to think if Hurts plays and one of Devontae and AJ plays, I think they can win. But if you're telling me Brown and Devontae's out, because I forgot Devontae, I think was an ankle injury, so like that might be tough, as a route runner.
They're not 100%. You're running routes all game. If anything, they might have to put him on a little bit of a snap count, especially Devontae. I think his might be a bit more serious. But then AJ Brown looked bad. I mean, it looked bad. Turns out,
he was
not. But then they're just hopeful day to day. Those are the words that Sirianni's been using the past couple of days, and it's like
Swift hasn't, like you said, Swift kind of being up and down too because they can't rely on him. It's crazy.
Game.
It is crazy how the Chiefs and the Eagles look like. They just look like complete shells of themselves. That's why this year, like I said, with the whole playoffs, which is anybody's game. Like I said, we already covered Detroit, LA, Dallas, Green Bay,
Cowboys, Texans,
Buffalo,
Browns,
Buffalo, Pittsburgh. That's just we know what that is.
Yeah.
Unless anybody has a deferring.
No,
anybody thinks there's going to be an upset there.
All I gotta say, how about them Bills, man? They've been legit all year.
Punt return saved them, man.
Exactly. Punt return saved their ass.
That's part of defense and special teams. Defense and special teams.
That is
awesome.
I was when I saw that
awesome all year. They've been awesome.
When I saw that because we bet that game, I was like, good, they would get a punt return in Miami. Like that would freaking happen. I was like,
business, man.
I was just like, both of those quarterbacks, I have no complete faith in. Like I know,
Allen
has the touchdown leads,
but 3 turnovers for Jalen. 3.
Yeah,
he
just
the
picks in the red zone. It just. I don't know. One of them just looked. I don't know what he was looking at. Like I don't understand.
He's Brett Favre reincarnated. He's a gunslinger.
But in the red zone though, I don't mind. Like you're third and 15, and just air it out like a punt. Yeah. Okay, get picked off. Okay, I'm good with those. But in the red zone, that cannot happen. That cannot happen. Yeah. Like that's just inexcusable. But they still somehow they had a bad year, and so they're the number 2 seed.
Yeah.
So they took
going to Houston and Cleveland. To your point, P-Bush, that game to me is not as clear cut as most people would think because a lot of people are just going to side with Houston, like CJ Stroud. He's a rookie. Like
Browns.
he's a phenomenal guy, phenomenal quarterback. But man, I don't know if CJ Stroud have they played this year? I don't know if they played this year. Maybe they had like early in the year. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they did like early in the year. But whenever he did play, I think the defense that he will be seeing this go around is 10 times better. And I am pretty sure that I don't know who's the defensive coordinator.
The Browns beat them on Christmas Eve.
But Stroud didn't
Wait,
play.
They played him on
He had a
Christmas Eve?
concussion. He had
Oh,
a
okay, yeah,
concussion.
Stroud
He had
was
a
out.
he had a
Okay,
concussion, so he didn't play. So
Yeah, Davis was, but
count.
Flacco went for 370 and 3 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Flacco to me, dude, he is like he's another one where it's like he's just playing because it is what it is. Like I don't think he has any type of pressure. So I don't see him as this quarterback that I trust because I do feel like he could throw an ill-advised pick, and he is going against the DeMeco Ryans defense. But conversely, if Stroud were to go against this Browns defense, and I wouldn't say light them up, but like be successful, might have to have a conversation about him going to the Super Bowl because I think that defense that he's going against is the best defense he'll see all playoffs. So if he's able to successfully beat them, we would have to alter all conversation about the Texans at that point.
Well, because they're the 4 seeds, so they'd end up facing the Ravens. If everyone else didn't upset, if the Dolphins and Steelers also did not upset,
and then I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but I'm just saying that then if we're talking about how I just said it with how like Jordan Love has no pressure going against Dak, what the hell you think CJ Stroud has going against Lamar, who has an immense amount of pressure? So like, yeah, exactly. So like, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I just don't like foresee that happening. So like, I am a little bit more comfortable picking the Browns, but God, it makes me nervous because I just don't trust Joe Flacco.
Don't trust Joe. I trust Amari Cooper against this Texans team, man. This was his 11 for 265 and 2 touchdowns game. Was against Derek Stingley Jr., who's a good corner.
He was a good corner, but yeah, he got diced up.
Torched. That's the best wide receiver performance of the year. I think we can all agree. I don't think someone might have come close, but 11 catches for 260.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And 2 touch, and he caught a 2-point conversion. Just throw that in there as well.
Some of those catches weren't easy.
No, on the sideline, some of those toe taps were ridiculous. So here's the thing: I think it's an easy pick for the Browns if Amari Cooper is 100%. He's coming off that heel injury, which cost me a championship in fantasy. Didn't play week 17 and 18. Man, come on. But I just think I'll take Flacco's experience. I know he's not the best quarterback, but man, he's been in and around the game and in the playoffs for 16 years. Obviously, not the last couple, but he's willed this team. Who, if Deshaun Watson was playing,
I'm telling you, Joe Flacco this year or Deshaun Watson this year, just this season as a sample size. Who
Joe
played better?
Flacco's played a lot better.
How quick we forget Deshaun's last game, what he did against the Ravens. How quick we forget that. Listen, if we're talking about the highest of highs, I probably would have the Deshaun game against the Ravens.
Stop it, man. You're talking about 1 week, man. I'm looking about the body of work this year.
But you should know me by now, man.
Yeah,
come on. I had that in my back pocket.
I'll agree with you, though. I would take Flacco this year. Right now,
he looked awesome. He looked awesome. He's unleashed his weapons. David Njoku did nothing.
That's
first half.
Njoku's
and he's always been there. Like
he's
that's
the
a weapon.
Guy
Week. Like Njoku has been actually unleashed by Joe Flacco. Like he's looking like Gronkowski out there. Him getting the ball, he's just trucking over people.
Yep.
Like it's Joe Flacco.
He's a matchup problem for the Texans.
Same thing with Amari Cooper. In the beginning of the year, he was not that consistent, and then the bounce being random quarterbacks coming in and out. You go Joe Flacco in there.
I think that
Amari Cooper becomes an awesome performer. So it's all correlated to Joe Flacco.
But Joe Flacco has a tendency to just whoop, there goes a pick. Like that's what scares me about. He hasn't been flawless. I
can live with those picks when he's dropping 50 yards down the field.
And with that defense on his
The only thing that scares me is, like I said, with the Browns is I'm not really too scared about what CJ Stroud could do against their defense. It's just all the points you guys are making about Joe Flacco. He is, hell, he's been sitting on his couch for years. Like this almost feels like a magic carpet ride.
Doesn't look like it.
Aladdin got be able to do that because of their defense. He might be able to do that because of his defense, so he could just be a little bit more careless with the football.
Yeah, he could be aggressive.
But I also think too, he's also going against a head coach of D'Amico Ryans, who their defense is not as good as the Browns, but he's going to have a game plan for Joe Flacco. It'd be different if maybe he was going against a defense where it's like the defense is maybe good, but they're more of an offensive centric type team. Like D'Amico Ryans is definitely going to have a game plan for Joe Flacco. So, like I said, I'm still picking the Browns because it's more so about I just don't see CJ Stroud going crazy against the Browns defense. He's a rookie. Like, speaking of magic carpet rides, that has to end eventually. Like, it's just that I mean, what I'm trying to think, like, who's the last rookie that came as like Tom Brady, I guess? I don't know.
No, he was a rookie.
Herbert? Who did he play? I can't remember who as a rookie that like he just came into the playoffs as a rookie and went.
Did he put
no, Herbert didn't play in the playoffs.
Yeah, maybe he didn't.
Even so it's
Mahomes,
just like
maybe
no Mahomes the second year. So yeah, it's just this doesn't happen. It doesn't happen for a reason. But like I said, either outcome for me, I'm really excited about because it's just like we get to see more Joe Flacco and the Browns and like their probable run, or like I said, if CJ Stroud pulls this off. If CJ Stroud pulls this off, that's my Super Bowl pick. I'm going to go ahead and say it now. If he pulls this off, I'm picking the Texans to go to the Super Bowl.
Let's take it easy, man. Let's take it easy, man. We're just talking about the wild card game. Let's take it easy.
I have to. Let me go ahead. What they say? Get in early. Let me get in early.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that is a brutal path. That is a brutal path. It's not like Swiss cheese defenses playing against elite officers. You win a shootout. Yeah. It's playing against the best of the best.
Because it could potentially be like he has to go against the Ravens defense, the Chiefs defense, Bills defense.
The Bills. They're all elite defense.
Like this.
That is a brutal path.
3 of the probably top 6 or 7 defenses.
Maybe I use a little bit of hyperbole, but that just shows how much I'm in the CJ Stroud fan club.
Yeah, I mean he's a phenomenal year, easy rookie of the year. Bijan had a nice end to the season, but this was CJ Stroud's award
no
this
doubt.
year.
It's CJ's award.
Yeah. So talking about going overboard in terms of expectations and what we think these guys will do in the playoffs. I posed a question regarding Lamar Jackson and Dak Prescott, just in terms of pressure and who, you could talk about their collective teams who need to get to a Super Bowl, because I could say both franchises need to get back, especially the Cowboys. But just these two guys as quarterbacks, who do you think needs, and emphasis on needs, a Super Bowl run? So when I say that, you got to get to, not necessarily mean you're going to win a Super Bowl, but just to get to the big game. And Zoo, I'm gonna ask you, let you go with this one.
Man, no brainer, man. It's the MVP Lamar Jackson, man. I'm telling you, this is the man with the expectations. This is the man that got his contract, didn't get the Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed contract, but still got a really nice $260 million contract. So you're talking about this guy with a defense that's Jesus. You don't have to do much on offense. Like, they have a really good offense right now. They finished the season strong, even without Mark Andrews, because Isaiah Likely has filled in. And not gonna lie, they haven't really missed a step. Isaiah Likely on a production basis put up similar numbers to Mark Andrews. So shout out to Isaiah Likely just going right in and just taking over Mark Andrews' role in the offense. You talking about this is the man, like, I know you were hating on Jokic last year because he didn't get it done. But this is Lamar's year to get it done too. This is his year. Like last year, obviously, he didn't play. He was injured. Yeah, and then 2 years ago, like he lost in the playoffs, so that happens. Like, this guy was a young player. I don't know about losing to the Tennessee Titans. That was a little disturbing. I'm a little still disturbed by. Yeah, I'm a little disturbed by the Tennessee Titans loss. But like, okay, you have a bad game in the playoffs. It happens to the best of them. But this is your opportunity right now. You got the bye, so that's not guaranteed every year. Only one team per conference gets the bye, so you're automatically, percentage-wise, you have a way better chance of making to the finals, or making to the Super Bowl. And you're looking at your road to the playoffs right now. Like, potentially, if Buffalo and Kansas City take care of business, they're going to be fighting each other over there. And that's going to be a brutal matchup with the quarterbacks and both having elite defenses, and both quarterbacks this year having, I would say, not their best seasons.
Inefficient years.
Yeah, very inefficient. More interceptions than usual, more turnovers than usual. Not perennial MVP. Like, they were not MVP candidates this year based on the objective quarterback numbers this year. So they all not at their best, and they're going to have the brutal matchup over there. And you might have an opportunity to play against old-ass Joe Flacco and a great defense. But you have a great defense too. So
they're 1-1 against them.
Yeah, the defense net out. It's mano y mano, you and Joe Flacco, man, the former Raven, a guy that has
talk about another storyline.
Another storyline.
I'll tell you, man, there is a lot of juicy storylines this year. A lot of Yeah, you got a lot of reunions, and I'm all about a good reunion matchup right now. So I'm rooting for those Browns to take care of business, so I would get this beautiful matchup between these elite defenses, and it's going to be just physicality to the max right now with Myles Garrett fighting against these guys. So I'm extremely excited for this matchup to potentially happen. But if you look at Lamar, man, if you lose your best weapon to Mark Andrews, Isaiah likely fills in. You got your number one receiver, Zay Flowers, who has finished the season extremely strong. Like he's finished unbelievably. Odell Beckham with a little rebirth, and Nelson Aguilar, whatever. But those two weapons, especially Zay Flowers and Isaiah Likely, man, these guys they've been awesome weapons. Like in the beginning, they struggled, like especially Zay Flowers, he struggled with some drops, and before that, Mark Andrews. But losing your number one option and still advance to the Super Bowl, that would be extremely impressive, and you'll live up to that MVP honor. Because right now, having 2 MVPs in the NFL, man, you're in a tier. You're in a tier of okay.
You might be talking about Hall of Fame now.
Exactly. You are in the Hall of Fame conversation with 2 MVPs, especially at the quarterback position, and especially how much this guy, like this team, relies on him as his ability to run, ability to throw the football, focusing more as a passer this year with a new offensive coordinator. And even though his number, like this guy beat some great teams, the 49ers in the regular season. But as you said, man, we got to see in the playoffs. And I'm going to say, I believe in Lamar Jackson, man. I believe in Lamar Jackson.
No big trust.
Yeah. I believe in him, man. I believe.
Big trust.
I thought it was extremely difficult of overcoming Mark Andrews. That was my hesitation when he got injured. I was like, ooh, but winning without your number one pass catcher and advancing to the Super Bowl. I don't even care if you don't win the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson's proven to me if he makes it just to the Super Bowl, okay, this guy's that guy. This guy's that Hall of Fame quarterback, franchise quarterback up there with Patrick Mahomes, up there as an elite quarterback. As you could go 1A, 1B, depending on what happens this year. Because if you win the Super Bowl this year, and especially if you beat a team like the defending champs in Kansas City, woo, Lamar Jackson, man, this is his shoulder. He got some heavy shoulders, man. He got a lot of carrying to do because all I got to say, Dak Prescott, if he loses, it'd be like, oh, the Cowboys. Like you said, Cowboys, same old story, man. I'm telling you, he's gonna get a nice big fat contract regardless. Because if you look at the NFC quarterbacks, is Dak Prescott top 3?
Probably.
Think about it.
Probably.
Jalen Hurts.
The NFC. If you see NFC,
Jalen Hurts had a really bad year. He had a bad year. Outside of the tush pushes, like his numbers are not that good this year. So you can make it up.
Like, who would you rather have, Brock Purdy or Dak Prescott? It's like,
exactly. I'm taking Dak. I'm taking Dak.
Yeah, me too.
So like you can make a legitimate
Geno Smith.
Exactly.
it's bleak in the NFC, dude.
Tyler.
You can say he might be top 2. He might be
top 2.
He might
because it's bleak in the NFC, bro.
Sam Howell.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, Sam Howell stock. New coach coming in. Let's go.
Yeah.
So that's all I gotta say, because if Lamar loses before making it to the Super Bowl, or I even say if he misses the conference,
tough.
What are people going to say about him? Imagine him losing to the Browns. Imagine him losing to the Browns. He wins 0 playoff games.
Flacco, and it being Flacco.
0 playoff games after an MVP. Yuck. Oh my God, he'd be accepting that trophy MVPs? At home, man. Oh, that's all I got.
Well, here's the thing. That's a lot of Lamar Jackson and the Ravens with this unit. Right. Obviously, sure, the Mark Andrews injury, but I don't think you can really say that this was a down. You can't put an asterisk if they lose, because Likely has, honestly, over the last 2 seasons, Likely's stretch right now might be better than Mark Andrews. I know he had a good start to the year, Zoo. I know you had that stack in fantasy. It was going to be beautiful. Got ruined. But Isaiah Likely has matched and, if not exceeded, Mark Andrews this year, especially just he's faster. He's more athletic than he is. So I think that this team is pretty much the exact same as when they came into the season. Obviously, they've played well, and maybe the chemistry between the two had to improve over throughout the season between Lamar and Likely, but they are approaching the Cowboys level of scrutiny if they lose this year and do not make the NFC championship or the AFC championship game. Because, man, how many times did they lose to the Titans in the playoffs? Twice?
Yes.
At the hand of Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry?
Mike Vrabel and Ryan Tannehill, yeah.
Yeah. You look at this year, man. I mean, sure, you could say, yeah, it's the Cowboys. It's the Cowboys, blah, blah, blah. their path is going through, obviously we talked about it, the Packers, house money. If everything shakes out the way, even if the Bucks do let's see, if the Eagles upset the Bucks, quote unquote, seeding wise, right? That would be the lowest seed to win. And then the Niners would have to play the Eagles, and the Cowboys would get a rematch with them. Either way, they're probably playing the Lions in the second round. At home, the Cowboys have their home field advantage is legitimate. They are a different team when they're at home. Zoo, you pointed out the mediocre
undefeated,
teams
I think,
down. That's another one of their juggernauts. They just crush bad teams, but they are also have a huge edge at home. So I'm not saying that I believe in Dak more. I do think I believe in the Ravens more to make a run, but I think, and I'll agree with you, Zoo, I think Lamar has way more pressure, but the one team he needs to be scared of in this playoffs is not the Chiefs, and it ain't the Bills. It is the Browns. They know him like the back of their hand. They've outplayed him once. I don't think that their win was with Flacco when they beat the Ravens, but I could be wrong. And the Ravens did get revenge on it.
Deshaun beat
It was Deshaun. But to your point, Sue, Flacco's been playing better than Deshaun this year, man. And I'm not saying that the Ravens defense isn't good, but Flacco can just get a deep ball that Lamar just can't, man. And all it takes in that type of game is one huge play. And I'll just say, man, I believe in Flacco's ability to make a big play more so than Lamar Jackson this year, right now, on offense.
You guys
that does not include his legs.
You guys are out of your mind.
No,
this Flacco, this is insane. Flacco has been on the couch for the last 2 years, and now a guy who's been on the couch for 2
Warner
years.
Was bagging groceries, and
Kurt Warner's an anomaly, man. That's an anomaly, bro. That's an anomaly.
Kurt
Warner's he's a Hall of Famer, and Joe Flacco is not that.
Look, but what I'm saying is Lamar's not going to feast on the Browns, and Joe Flacco's not going to feast on the Ravens. The defense so it's gonna come down to one big play, and Lamar Jackson's not going to do it with his legs in this game. It's going to be a big throw to Amari Cooper or Zay Flowers.
Yeah. Well, I will agree that the Browns defense knows the Ravens. So if I'm the Browns and I see me act like if I beat the Texans and I was like, oh shoot, like who are we playing next? Oh, we're playing the Ravens. If I'm the Browns, I'm like, yeah, I'm confident. But listen, Nick Foles, that was a magic carpet ride. He did well.
That was a miracle.
But it's more of the same thing I'm talking about. Like I almost probably would have more if I'm talking about who would I have more faith in more, like Dallas Cowboys or like the Browns. Just, and I just kind of killed my point because I was proving it when I was talking about the Packers and how they could beat the Cowboys. So that kind of is null and void now. But I would pick the Cowboys because it's just like at some point where most of these teams in the playoffs outside of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and respect to them, but come on, like they all are pretty good teams because it's the playoffs. And it's just like, come on, man, like love Flacco. We've seen him go and he got to a Super Bowl and won. And it was in similar circumstances. Like he had an elite defense with the Ravens, and he was just making sure he had like 8 or 9 touchdowns in a row and no turnovers. Like he does have the confidence to do that.
Beat Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Beat Peyton Manning.
That year he was playing like that, and that's why he got paid. But we also see what Flacco ended up being years after that, and I just kind of feel like it does feel a little bit more like he can maybe get on that magic carpet and just ride it to the Super Bowl. But man, like if he's able to pull that off, then hey, I'm just completely wrong because I just don't have this complete utter like, yeah, it's just because you got to also think like, yes, he's got Njoku the ball, but like I think he's more Amari dependent, and I love Amari. But when you're coming to the playoffs, like you don't think the Ravens are looking at like, well, if we just shut Amari down, which is hard to do. But it's like if you just shut Amari down, like who are they going to go to? Because nobody believes in those running backs. Some could argue the same. You could say the same thing about the Ravens running backs. But
no,
I think with Lamar and Dak, I agree. I think Lamar needs this the most. So I kind of, I agree with you guys. So it's kind of a clean sweep. But just to play devil's advocate, I don't agree that Lamar, in terms of like, say, like, I think if he loses in an AFC championship game, it's going to be a lot of pressure, but it's just people also just how the media is going to go. They're going to be like, well, he lost Mark Andrews. And plus two, you guys don't want to, like, you always bring up Zay Flowers stuff, but like, come on, we're talking about elite weapons in the NFL. They're not close. They're not close to like who like CeeDee Lamb for Dak is like and CD, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer yet, but just how he's played this year, if he has like 3 or 4 more stacked seasons like that, he's looking like a Hall of Fame receiver. Like Amari Cooper for Joe Flacco, like that is in the alpha number 1 guy. Like Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, just looking at their weapons. I mean, Patrick Mahomes has Travis Kelce, but what the hell is Travis Kelce this year? So it's kind of like he's almost a wash. But like I'm looking at Dak like, look, bro, like CD is playing unbelievable this year. You got your contract and you're kind of do it for a new contract. We need to at least get to an NFC championship game. At least. And I think with Dallas, how, like I said, their fans are looking at the landscape, especially with the Eagles faltering, like Super Bowl or bust. And just off the fact of how big the Cowboys are in terms of a brand, you can't compare that. I mean, Lamar has a lot of pressure, but like, I think most people are looking from the outside, not like trained eyes. And I even think it's trained eyes. The Cowboys are going to be the story if Dak flames out and let's just say they beat the Packers, but like the divisional round or the championship. People are going to flame. They're not going to say, well, Dak, he played well this year. No, it's the Cowboys. They're not sane fans. Nobody is going to be like, oh, yeah, Dak just played whatever. Like Dak needs to kind of get to a Super Bowl, which like I say, Lamar does too. And if I had to pick one, I would pick Lamar just because I'm more invested in Lamar because I feel like he needs to get there. But it's like the Cowboys,
you got 2 MVPs. Dak not winning MVPs.
I mean, some people could argue. I think Lamar's MVP, but some people could argue Dak could have been MVP this year.
Man,
he's playing like an MVP.
No.
He's. No. I mean, Lamar had the bigger games.
He had a great season, but no, he didn't carry that.
I think. What do you think? He'll probably finish 3rd or 4th in MVP, right? So that means he was close to being. He's not like the 10th guy in the MVP standings. Like he's a top 5 MVP guy. Now Lamar is the guy who's going to win because he's one on the. But I also think too, another thing with Lamar, people keep talking about these weapons. The reason why these guys, I think, is more so because of Lamar that these guys are good. It ain't because these guys are great players. Because Isaiah Likely, I don't think is that good anywhere else. Zay Flowers, I love him. He's a good receiver. I think he could be good, but he's also a rookie receiver who's, again, 5. If you're telling me your top receiver is 5'9",
5'10",
it's not an elite receiver.
DJ Morris 5'10".
Who is the other elite, like the go-to number 1 receiver on anybody who's in the playoffs as a 5'9" guy?
I was gonna say DJ Morris
as a rookie. Yeah. Like look at CJ Stroud.
You love Zay Flowers as a 6'5"
guy.
You love Zay Flowers.
I love him, but he is a complimentary guy,
man. No, complimentary.
He's an alpha because Lamar is an alpha and he's good. Like you think Zay Flowers being alpha at Carolina? No,
of course not. Because
do you think he'd be an alpha? Do you think he? No. Who's another competent quarterback? Who would be the alpha? Who would be the alpha on the Vikings?
I mean, Justin Jefferson. That's like the top 2 receivers.
Who would be the second receiver on the Falcons? Addison or Flowers? Addison. Yeah, like, come on. It's the reason why these players are playing above their heads is because of Lamar, which is to our point. He probably has more pressure because Lamar, like you said, he's about to win a second MVP. I need you to see, you need to get, like you said, he has to at least get to AFC Championship game. If he loses before that, to your point, Zoo, like he's got the bye. And let it not be the Browns. If he loses to the Browns and Joe Flacco, that almost, like I said, I'm still going to be a Lamar guy, but that almost kind of makes you be like, okay, this guy's got a problem in the playoffs.
That'll be disturbing.
You're going to have to start having those conversations because it's like you cannot lose to the Browns and Flacco. Like, and you're going to be at home. Like, nah, you can't lose that. So, like, almost for his sake, I hope he doesn't get the Browns. Like which one would be worse, losing to the Browns and Flacco or losing to CJ Stroud?
Oh, that would be awful too. Losing to a rookie without his best.
That's what I'm saying. I still think the Flacco
too.
One might sting more because he was Baltimore's own, so that might hurt a little bit more.
It would sting more to Baltimore fans, but the media will.
The national media, yeah, it probably would be. CJ Stroud.
No, I think it'd be either way.
That'll be terrible.
Yeah. So
that's what I'm saying. Either way, they're both screwed if they don't make their respective championship games.
Because if Dak loses to the Niners, I'll be like, makes sense.
Yeah, because you got smoked by him before.
Yeah, Niners are better. Niners are better.
And the Ravens,
I think, who would they play? I guess so. In the second round, I guess if everything goes to serve,
depending on the Eagles, the Eagles. Or
it kind of depends on what the Eagles do.
Exactly. So
Yeah, like I say, I tend to agree. It's Lamar just because his circumstances of losing to the Browns or the Texans. That's pretty dire. And like you said, this year more than any year, man, is anybody's game. Like I said, so there's every team has a case, and I keep disrespecting the Steelers, and I might need to stop because they
Pickens
might actually
go off for 200 yards, or
they
something.
might cover. They'll lose, but they might cover. But still, it's just. Who is their like Mason Rudolph? Is that going to be the starter?
Mason Rudolph, man. Rudolph. Yeah, come on, Josh, take care of business.
Yuck. Yeah. So we're gonna see. Like I said, the playoffs are here. We are super excited about the NFL, man. I think this is going to be a playoffs to remember this year. So make sure you guys are tuned into our podcast. Another, I guess full disclosure, we're not doing bets anymore. I don't know if anybody else had anything to add to bets. I know P was kind of said his earlier.
Just a little Bucks bet, man.
Yeah, just a little Bucks bet. But we're kind of going to be looking throughout the playoffs and maybe looking at some different types of lines. At least for me, I'm going to be looking at money lines. So I might throw one out there, but we're kind of wrapping up that segment. So we might bring something in the future with the NBA. Another announcement, it won't be every pod because the NBA is pretty much every day. So you guys are going to have to tune in to different pods to see which bets we're going to place on that. But Tyson Talk _ is the name for Instagram. For YouTube, Quantro knows. Make sure you're following us on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. We are now on iHeart, the app as well, doing those type of things with the podcast, putting our video and audio up there. So make sure you guys tune into that. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share if you're watching this on YouTube. And then for me, Zoo, and P-Bush, we are out.